Tax season is underway, which means time to watch out for tax scams, which are among the most stubborn cons out there. Karla Laird is with the Better Business Bureau, and she joins us now with more on this topic. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Karla, more people are expected to file online this year. How does that increase the risk of scams?
Right. So the challenge with online filing this year is the fact that it opens up the web of potential scams that could be targeting Canadians this year. And so that looks like phishing scams. We're looking at things like direct messaging and text messaging coming to Canadians, trying to persuade them into either sharing personal information or paying taxes to scammers that, when they think they're actually paying to the Canadian Revenue Agency.
Now, there's a lot of scams out there. Can you tell us a little bit about what impersonation scams are? I hadn't heard of this kind of a situation. Very unusual.
Yeah, so impersonation is really a large part of many of the scams that end up targeting Canadians, because at the end of the day, the scammers are pretending to be someone else that you know, that you trust, hoping that you'll believe that and at the same time follow through with whatever it is that they're asking you to do. So in most of the tax scams, they're impersonating CRA representatives when they either contact you by telephone, when they contact you by email or by text message, or in some cases, when they reach out to you in other ways where there's like direct messaging on social media. So at the end of the day, they're pretending to be someone else, and they'll be asking you for information or asking you to follow a series of instructions that would allow them to take money from you.
Now, you mentioned the CRA. That is a well-known and common tax scam. Can we just quickly go over that one as well?
Yes, so the CRA scam calls are very common. We all know about them, and many of us have been getting them weekly and daily in some cases. It's where you hear an automated recording. The person sounds very aggressive, and they're probably telling you that you either owe taxes or that you are entitled to a refund and that they need to speak to you directly to give you more information. When you engage with them, they're likely going to be telling you that you need to share personal information, such as your social insurance number, and they might be telling you that you need to either pay taxes through gift cards, through Bitcoin, that kind of payment method, which they're very familiar with and enjoy utilizing, because they know once you make the payment in those ways, your money is gone for good and you'll never know who they are or where they are.
All right. And how about tax identity theft? This is actually the one that I was thinking about that I hadn't heard too much of.
And the reason why you wouldn't hear so much about it is because you will not know that you have been a victim of tax identity theft until you actually get some form of communication from the CRA. So what tends to happen is you have it's now tax season, and you've gotten some form of mail from the CRA saying, hey, we've already received a file for you or a submission for you for this tax season. Why are we now having two? And so that's why we always encourage Canadians to file as early as possible, because if it's the case that a scammer does have enough information to file taxes pretending to be you, you would have beaten them to it. And so that allows you to stay away from that kind of experience.
All right. So can you give us some tips on how to avoid these types of scams?
Yes. Well, I've mentioned the first one already, which is filing as early as possible. And I'm trying to lead by example. So I actually filed my taxes yesterday.
Oh, good.
So file it as early as possible. So that reduces the risk of tax identity theft. Other things you want to keep in mind is if you're going to take the route of filing electronically this year, it automatically means an online account, which automatically means passwords. And so you want to make sure that you have created a unique password for your CRA account online that no one else knows, that is not the same password for another online account. And I know you're going to say, Karla, more passwords, but this one is important. So if you don't do anything else, make sure that password is unique. And also make sure that you sign up for email notifications from the CRA. So in the event someone does end up having your login information and is trying to change details on your account, like the direct deposit location or any other details on your CRA file, you would get a notification by email to let you know a change has been made. And if you didn't make that change, then you can reach out to get some assistance as soon as possible. And I would say my final tip is if you do end up in a situation where you have been a victim of a tax scam, act immediately. And that means reaching out to the CRA to let them know that something has, that your data has been compromised. If your social insurance number has been compromised, reach out to Service Canada. And of course, report it to BBB so that we can help to warn others and prevent others from being victims of these scams.
Very good advice and tips. Thanks so much for being here with us. That's Karla Laird with the Better Business Bureau.
Thank you for having me.